Hey, now we're in chapter 4, part 2, and we pick it up with understanding some different analytical approaches and analysis approaches. This is mainly from the symbolic interactionist side of the street. So the first is called ethnomethodology, a guy named Harold Garfinkel, and sometimes this is referred to as the sociology of practical jokes. What Garfinkel would do was he would have his students go break social norms, little social norms, and then record what people would do. So one of the famous ones was you have two people walk into an elevator, but face the back of the elevator instead of the front of the elevator, and have somebody else there to record what people do. What they found out is that people won't get on the elevator with somebody that doesn't ride the elevator according to our social norms, which is kind of silly if you think about it. There's no wrong way to ride an elevator. He would have them go and, let's say, haggle for something that costs less than $1 at a supermarket and deal with how that flustered people when you don't follow the social rules. Then there's Irving Goffman. He used something called dramaturgical analysis. This is where, again, he's using the sort of metaphor of the play to talk about how we have a front stage persona and a backstage persona, that we follow certain social scripts every single day. How are you doing? Well, I'm doing fine. Think about it. What if you ask a question, how are you doing? And somebody actually went, like, oh my God, thanks for getting to me. I really got to tell you everything I did. You'd flip out, right? Because they're not supposed to do that. That's not the script that we're supposed to follow. We also discuss things like impression management, which is important since a lot of what we do during our day isn't activity actually designed to make things better, but we're just basically managing other people's impression of us to make sure that they find us acceptable. And that also includes face-saving behavior, which is sort of performances that we do. So again, you trip and fall at a big place and you could get up and start crying because you feel embarrassed, but that would be bad. So to save face, you jump up and maybe go, ta-da, just to try to save face. Now, for our friends in political sociology and political science, face saving is also something that nation states do as well. So when we deal with a country, particularly, let's say, a country like China, who's very much focused on saving face, there's a certain rudeness to winning at all costs culturally. So not understanding that is a problem because face saving is something that's polite to do in those societies. Then we talk about the sociology of emotions. We seem to, no matter what our culture, no matter what our background, seem to be able to identify about 10 emotions, things like anger and disgust and happiness, sadness, and these emotional states, these face expressions seem to be consistent through all kinds of cultures. So there's clearly something about them that we need to read and falls into the category of what we call nonverbal communication. So you may have heard some formula like 70, 20, 10, where 70% of communication is nonverbal, 20%, let's say, is inflection and context, and only 10% are the words that we actually use. So we discovered this actually in our attempt to go to the moon. We found out that astronauts were getting on each other's nerves because they couldn't read each other's facial expressions because your face swells in space. And that little microphone wasn't allowed a lot of inflection. So that got on people, just the same way that I'm sure while texting somebody, maybe you made a joke or something and they didn't take it that way, or you were being sarcastic and somebody got upset because there isn't a sarcastic emoji. We also talk about other things that do sort of depend on cultural and context, like eye contact and touching. Our culture isn't an extremely touchy culture. Other cultures, they come up and they give you two kisses, and there's lots of handshaking and hugging. There's also the issue of eye contact, how much eye contact is good, and, meaning that I'm being direct and trustworthy versus I'm being challenging and being, a jerk about something. Also depends on context. If you're in prison, you don't make a lot of direct eye contact in prison. That's one of the rules they say about how society's rules change in prison, because if you make a lot of eye contact, it's called mad dogging somebody. It's a challenge, and then you've got to, potentially fight somebody in the yard because you gave them too much direct eye contact, which, was a challenge in that environment. There's also the discussion of intimate space. We enjoy in the United States a lot of personal space. This is not the way things are in other cultures, particularly European cultures, Asian cultures where there's so many people. You're not afforded that, 18 inches of personal space everywhere you go. People are always invading that bubble, and you just have to roll with it. And that alarms a lot of people because that's too close to, your person for a lot of Americans. That ends chapter 4. This was a short one, and we'll pick it up with chapter 6 next. We skipped chapter 5 temporarily. We'll be coming back to it. Okay? So read ahead to chapter 6.